Hey, welcome back, gamers, to another episode here at Gamer Guide channel. I, of course, am Rollin in Robocraft and also Gamer Guide, but I also have a secondary guest account called Grambler, something that I put a couple robots on in case somebody came over to my house to visit and I could put them up on the second computer. But a couple of them are pretty cool, and I wanted to share this one with you. This is the XS-8 Interceptor. It's kind of a combination between my Viking and my XI line of sniper robots, and something that turned out really neat, and it's a great way to level up in Mark 8. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. Check out the rest of this video, and I'll see you in the build garage to check out those parts.
Let's make a run together, I'll be by your side before we collide. And if the sky falls down on you, just beat it up before we collide. When we collide, let's make it last forever, I'm ready to fly before we collide. When we collide, and when the sun don't shine on you, just heat it up before we collide. When we collide.
once again.
Alright, well that match went pretty good. Ended up with, what, 17 kills and 12 assists. Not too bad. And pretty good score. Something that I think you guys can get as well. So this is a nice little tanky robot. And one thing I like about this build too is it's something that isn't slated for being nerfed. It's something that's actually been talked about being improved. So I didn't put the top speed here on some of the stats you'll see in the next part, because this top speed, even though it's about 155 miles per hour right now, it's probably going to be quicker by the time this video comes out and when they improve wheels. So I kind of put some question marks there, and that's what that is all about. So just keep in mind the top speed and performance on this is probably going to be better in the future versus something that they're looking at taking away from or nerfing. If you guys have already got your parts, please take this time to thumbs up the video and subscribe if you're new here. And now let's go to the build garage and get started on the build. Alright, the first thing we need to do is go ahead and name your robot, so go ahead and do that. I chose XS-8 Interceptor, but you can use any creative name you can come up with. And we're going to use our arrow and our center mirror line here to be a guide. We'll go ahead and start forward back from the rear of the arrow by putting down some inners, and then we're going to put down 3 cubes now and go back to inners again. And we'll come all the way out to the front of this arrow. And when we get to the ends, we'll go ahead and start going out the other direction to create our front. And then we're going to run these all the way back too. We're using lots of inners in this build, a pretty good amount of prisms, and then some cubes and a couple of tetras here and there as well. Only 2 arrow rods in this build for gun extensions, and 2 of our tier 9 tetra for our seat mount. Alright, so that's kind of our basic bottom for our supports. Now you can face those inners any way you'd like, really. It's just really for aesthetics. And to cut weight, that's why I go with a lot of inners on this versus going lots of cubes, if you're wondering. And then down the side here, we're going to run some more inners. And cubes in the middle, because they're a little tougher. And we'll run these all the way back here. We're leaving that spot of 2 open in the center because we're going to be putting our pilot seat mounts right there with those 2 tier 9 tetra later on in this build. Alright, starting up on the next layer now, we're just going to keep running these down. And you'll notice this build doesn't use really any prism plating or anything. It's actually a relatively simple build compared to some of my others, but still performs really well, just because of the length and the way it's structured. And there is some damage channeling on top along with those electroplates, which really keep this thing together very well. We're going to go and run this down all the way. Again, we're just kind of turning those chip corners now so you don't see it from the top. So any way you want to hide that chip corner is totally fine. It's up to you. There we go. On the bottom here, we'll put another couple of inners to round out the bottom. Now here on the bottom, we're going to run some fender guards in a couple different directions to put our wheels in between eventually when we add them on. We're using a total of 8 tier 7 steering wheels on this. And these are just kind of placeholders here for where we'll put our mounts. Makes it a little harder to shoot off the blocks underneath it too with those extra mounts. Alright, now we're going out a little beyond that tip of the arrow. We're going to create our nose of our vehicle here. That's going to be a gun mount later, so we're using a prism there. That way the damage doesn't transfer from the front of the vehicle and knock the gun off easier. So a little bit of prism plating. But that's about all there is in this build. Just the gun mounts. There we go. We're going to create another top layer here, keep it nice and smooth. So we'll just run these down the side. Alright, we're sending out the front again. And then again here with some more inners on the side. We'll go ahead and run some more down here. Okay, we're switching it up here and there. Need a couple prisms and spots just to kind of accommodate wheels and things like that. Besides that, we're using pretty much inners all the way around here. Alright, prisms all the way down this side. And let's put another inner here. Then we'll use some temporary blocks, these white cubes. Just create a row down so we can add our prisms to the other side here. This kind of separates damage from hitting the flanks of our vehicle and transferring inward as easily. So it kind of splits things up. And then we'll get rid of these temporary blocks. Okay, and here at the back, we're going to go ahead and round out the look. Put our inners here. Alright, we kind of got our back look finished up there. And now we need to add another layer here. So we're going to go back to using some bigger blocks, using inners. Now that prism there, you might need to go in and turn in a different direction or attach something to it. But besides that, these are pretty much all going to be inners. Alright, then we're going to run another row here on the outside, and a couple down below it. It's going to help protect our wheels here at the back. And we'll finish running these prisms down the side, adding a couple more details here and there for our fender wells. And again, another fender well detail here. Drop some more of these prisms down. Alright, now we're going to bring our frame in a little bit here, so we're curving inward. And we'll go back to using prisms here on the side. And we'll curve it in as we get closer to the front. Again, a couple details here and there for fender wells, for our wheels. We'll put some guns here on the side, eventually, up in the front. Alright, let's finish our nose up here. There we go. Let's go and put our seat mounts in next. We're using these Mark 9 Tetra to make it just a little bit harder to knock our pilot seat out. And we'll just go ahead and put one here on the front of the corner and one on the back so they don't touch each other. And they have to go all the way around to knock the pilot seat completely off. That's kind of the trick here. We're going to go ahead and add a canopy here on top too, so we'll kind of protect our control panel where we'll put our speedometer and make it a little harder for that damage to transfer right down by our pilot if we get bombed by a plasma. So let's build this up and connect them here with some inner. And again, you just can turn those chip corners again if you are worried about making it look exactly like mine, but as long as they're hidden from the top, you're good. Alright, we're going to go ahead and add one of these prisms, and then here on the sides we'll add some more inner and a Tetra in between them. I thought it kind of looked cool, like air induction or something like that on the side of the sports car, so that's why that's there. On the back here, this is just a little shroud to protect our radar from getting shot up by SMGs or railguns. And now we're going to go ahead and make some extension arms here for a rear spoiler that will hold 3 of our Tier 8 SMGs. So we're going to work these up using our prisms at the back, and at the front we're using our Tetra and inners. This is our first extension here. Just follow this pattern all the way up here. And we'll run some of these cubes back here, and then we're going to do the same thing again right here below it. So it has a little bit more hardiness. It's a little harder to just shoot off. So we'll go ahead and do the exact same pattern and connect it up to those blocks on top there. There we go. Prisms. And another block here. There we go. Now we're going to bring it out front a little bit more so we can put our central mount gun right over our cabin. We'll have our Mark 7 electroplates here in a little bit. We'll bring these forward and connect them together. Alright, let's go ahead and put a cube here. Another one there, and we'll put one more, and then we'll connect them together with some prisms. Let's extend it out front a little bit more too, so they have to get through some more blocks to knock our gun off. And we'll also bring it down a little bit to make it look like it's connected to our Mark 7 electroplates that we're going to be adding on in just a little bit. There we go. Alright, and that kind of wraps up our frame. Now we need to go and add our components on. We'll start with our Mark 6 thrusters. We're going to have 6 total. 4 of them are going to give us forward propulsion, and 2 will give us reverse. Go and put them right here on the back, underside, at least the ones that are going to go forward. And then kind of central here for our reverse on the bottom. We're going to use 2 of our Mark 8 aero rods, the curved ones, facing up for gun mounts. Now let's go ahead and put in our Mark 7 steering wheels. Put them between those little fender guards we put down earlier. And it should fit right in the well there too, and look pretty slick. Alright, on the back we're going to put 1 radar. It's a Mark 5. Let's drop our pilot seat in now too while we still have our electroplates off. We'll put them right on that purple Tetra. There we go. And if you have one of these speedometers, you can drop that in. Otherwise, feel free to use any cosmetic you want to add to the vehicle. It's definitely not a critical part, but it's nice if you have it. 1 Enemy Radar Jammer. We'll put that there. And then we're going to put our electroplates on front and back. Kind of completes the look and makes our top side a lot hardier. And finally, let's put our Mark 8 SMGs on. 1 here on top. 2 on those aero rods, 2 on the sides, and then we're going to put 1 nose gun on. And that wraps it up here, guys. Thank you, and congratulations on completing this build. Come back and see me soon and give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time here on Gamer Guide channel. Later.